Who are we going to get to run this ship? Nick in Reno. Hello, Nick. Welcome. You're on the Tom Sullivan Show.
Tom, thanks for taking my call. Love to be on the air with you.
Thank you. Are you going to the caucus event this
Oh,
week?
Yeah, I wouldn't miss that for anything.
How's that work in your neighborhood? You got like a schoolhouse or somebody's...
It's a local elementary school.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up. My precinct will show up. I'm expecting about 45 people that I've talked to be showing up.
Is this like Iowa where you got to get in little groups of who you support and who you don't?
No. You'll go into like your room in an elementary school, and then they'll be kind of batting back and forth. One person gets to stand up and speak on behalf of their candidate.
Okay.
You get about 2 minutes. You go to the next, and then at the end you do your ballot, and after that you vote for delegates.
Yeah, but by now you kind of know who you're for, don't you?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
All right, yeah.
But, on that healthcare topic, that's the one that got me to call in, because you've got a physician up on the stage, and Dr. Paul says pretty much straightforward, health savings accounts drive the costs down. It puts the individual responsible for their health care. Do you know that only about 3 cents out of every dollar is spent on preventing disease?
I believe it.
Obesity, diabetes is going to crush us as a country, and that so much of that is preventable. And so you've got Dr. Paul up there saying, hey, I want to talk about prevention of some of these problems, big economic problems. And he's saying, let's prevent some of this big national debt from crushing us. So he's going to take a different approach by saying, well, let's cut this ridiculous spending in many categories so that we can afford, health care until we can make people transition back to individual responsibility.
Yeah. No, I mean that is why. And by the way, you have received a lot of kudos and accolades from the last time you were on this program with me.
Well, good. I thought I made some fair points.
Well, no, it wasn't. You thought you made some. That's very nice. I'll tell you, the people were gushing, going, I wish that I could talk like Nick in Reno, because you really lay out a pretty good, strong argument. And I asked you at the time, you're not on the Paul campaign of any
No,
kind.
I'm an independent physician, actually, here in Reno.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time studying economics. I've been studying Dr. Paul for about 6 years. And his policies and his ideas just crush all the other candidates.
I know, and except for I told you if you can just talk to him about getting his foreign policy stuff changed around, I think it would make a big difference in his campaign.
Apparently he needs to get his suit tailored, I guess.
Well, that too, but I started teasing him about that, and now everybody is.
Well, the fact that, the guy is humble, ideas come before image, I respect that. I want a smart candidate up there, and I want a smart president. And Dr. Paul has shown that he is. He understands economics, he understands the health care issue, and he doesn't pander to these voters.
No.
In the last debate I was watching, he had the opportunity to pander to the religious groups, to pander to the Hispanics, to pander to the space program, and he chose not to. He said, you know what, my religion is not the issue. It's the constitutional oath of office that I take seriously. And he just crushed the religious debate. And then he goes right down the list to the NASA. He said there's too much government collusion between big government and big business. He said, I want to see less of that, because that's what drives costs up. Healthcare is one example.
Sure.
And your last caller made some good points, except that he called Dr. Paul a kook. That was nuts. But everything else, he was pretty much on the money.
Well, let's not hide the elephant in the room. A lot of people call him that.
Well, they shouldn't, because all you got to do is pull out your checkbook. What happens if you run in debt consistently? People stop trusting you. You can't pay your bills, and you're bankrupt. If your country is bankrupt, you're an easy target for militaries like Iran and other people that want to do you harm.
Yeah, no,
they'll look for the economic weakness long before anything else.
Admiral Mullen said the number one threat to our country is our debt.
So do that homework, and Ron Paul's no longer a kook. He's the smartest man on the stage because he's willing to face it and not pander like Romney or Santorum or Gingrich. He doesn't pander to those groups and say, oh, it's not much of a problem. We can keep spending all this money on the militarism,
I think a lot of people respect him for that, no question about it. But the question is he going to be able to keep on pushing? Because we were talking earlier last hour about the money that's pouring in from special people for Newt and for Santorum.
Yeah, people that make money off of more wars and more debt. Your financial industry that is propped up by Federal Reserve money.
Sure.
If you look, that's 18 brokers get all that money. And then they're able to play with it fresh off the print. They make their profit. That's not coming to me. That's not building our economy.
No, I know. I mean, look at it. It's a great gig. You sit there and you just have them issue more debt, and then Wall Street has to sell the bonds, and everybody makes a lot of money on the deal.
Until your dollar becomes so valueless that no one invests in it anymore, and you lose your world reserve currency status. and then you're ripe for the picking.
I know.
Canada could walk over and take us over when you get to that point. You get to a point where you're leveraged too far and you're weak.
So, all right. So your analysis is impeccable. My only problem is, why aren't the people buying into it?
Media fools that are thinking that Romney is going to be able to beat Obama.
But no. I just did this George Mason University study of Center for Media and Public Affairs, and they said Ron Paul, 73% positive comments by the media, 27% negative.
But take that in context. He gets less mentions than everybody else, so that positive isn't getting the sway that it should. People they get on that kook train, or they'll get on the foreign policy train, and they won't stop and pause and say, what's the bigger issue? Our national debt is the issue. And Romney doesn't touch it. Gingrich doesn't touch it. Santorum doesn't touch it. Obama runs from it. He's talking about more entitlement programs.
Sure. Yeah.
Ron Paul's going to save our country, my country, for my kids. So I got to respect him.
All right.
And the one point, if you can let me make this
all
point.
right,
in the last
go
debate,
for it. No, people love listening to you, Nick. I'm telling you. You should have your own show if things work out.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Newt Gingrich has the audacity to say, I balanced the budget 4 years in a row. So, Ron Paul brings up the point. I looked into those numbers. What you actually did was steal from Social Security. You shuffled funds around,
right.
but the debt went up $1 trillion.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at public debt versus total debt, what they did was it was all about the Social Security money. That whole thing about the government was balancing its books in the 90s is not true when you include Social Security.
Well, that needs to get some press. If people could wake up to that, and then they'd say, geez, Newt really didn't do what he's saying he did. He's disingenuous on the budget as well as health care.
Well, that whole period was the only time in umpty-ump years that we've had a positive federal deficit. Technically, they're right. The spending versus, without the Social Security money, the excess Social Security money coming in, they spent more than they brought in. It was just that simple. I don't know how you can get around it. It's just simple math. Nick, I do appreciate your call, as always.